Hi, I'm Marcus Houston. I'm the owner of Titan Strength Gym here in Edinburgh, Scotland. Well, I'd always been heavily involved in martial arts from a very young age. Combat sports, lifting weights, probably not with great technique, but I was also into that. Grew up in the 90s, watching all Arnold Schwarzenegger, Stallone movies, Van Damme, so always interested in what the body looked like, what it can do alongside martial arts. And there was, you were training, you were always trying to push that, but most of the clubs that you trained at, they had a small amount of gym kit, and then I would look at pictures of gyms abroad and I was also, oh my God, if there was only somewhere like that here to train. And then I always had this vision of that, and then that's what I wanted to create. And in my 20s, I was very focused on bodybuilding. And I can remember making a business plan with my friends. I was gonna take over this guy's gym who was like in his 60s. He'd been a Mr. Scotland bodybuilder for he'd won it 15 years in a row. He judged at the competitions. I had a key for his gym. I would sit and look after it some days, and I always thought, this would be my dream. But then, like everything, I had a child at a young age, and then I have to get a job, nothing to do with the gym. And then lo and behold, 6 or 7 years later, I circle back to this idea, more heavily involved in combat sports. I start teaching part-time, and it just grows and grows and grows, and then I just think enough's enough, I can make a living out of this. So probably a daring move at the time, but maybe sometimes I think not that clever, because it was a recession, and I rented a space, which was this space, and just started teaching combat sports. The gym was small, or the gym area. We had a few power cages, some weights, things that we all, guys clubbed together in those days to help us out. They would bring things in, and it grew and grew. And then just over the years, just fully transitioned into a strength gym. And then we've expanded now. We're double the size of what we were a year and a half ago. So now I can realise the dream even more. Anyone that wants to get stronger, that's it. I mean, that's like They have to want to get stronger. So if there was someone recently, it was not so much about losing weight. They still wanted to run. It was more focused on weight loss, and it was via methods of cardio, not manipulating diet. So I was like, you're not for me. You're not somebody that wants to come in and lift weights. That's all I'm interested in. And it can be just somebody even that wants to lift weights once per week. Somebody that's in their 40s or 50s, that's all they can start with. I'm like, I will do that. But if the desire is there is to get stronger for longevity, for them to last, that is it. So, and there's a real mix, because there's people here that, there are competitive athletes that we're coaching. And then there's someone who's a woman the same age as me, so she's very late 40s. She's had a double hip replacement. She just wants to be strong in later life because she's seen what it was like when her mother declined. She's like, I don't want to be in that position. So you're taking someone that's never really been sporty or lifted weights before. They're coming in, despite the double hip replacement. They're deadlifting, rack pulling, they're squatting, they're doing all of this. They're taking creatine, which I think is amazing. They're fully invested, they're taking magnesium. And I think that's a great thing, because there's so many people, a lot of the guys come here, they're not even doing that. They'll be super serious. They're telling me how they're training 5 days a week, but they're not taking creatine. They're not bothered about recovery. There's no zinc and magnesium and stuff. So yeah, basically anybody that wants to better themselves, I think my proudest moment would be when we expanded and we opened next door and we rebranded to Titan Strength. Because if I think back, the gym's like 18 years old now, and it's gone through a variety of names, and a lot of them were associated with combat sports, or there's always been gym in the title. But if I was out and about and people were like, oh, what is it you do? I was never one to say, oh, I own a gym. That's just me. I'd say I'm a coach, and then I'd say, oh yeah, I have a gym. What's the name of the gym? And I'd always be a bit shy about that. And then when we were moving to the space next door, I was speaking to someone, friend in business, and they're like, what's the name of the gym again? And I told them, it's like, I don't even know what that means, so we need something strong. So that's when I thought, okay, came up with Titan Strength. And then I'm just like, when those doors opened and it was Titan Strength, it had the new logo, it was all branded. That is for me the best thing, because it doesn't matter where I go. If I see someone and they're like, oh, what is it you do? Straight away now, I'm like super proud of it. I'm like, I own Titan Strength. Even if they say I've not heard of it, I just go, yeah, well, you're not strong enough to train there. So It's all good. I would stay true to yourself and your core beliefs, definitely, because I've always been a great believer in strength. But when you're looking to appeal to the masses or customers, sometimes you deviate a little bit from that. So obviously we were a CrossFit box. We've been a High Rocks affiliate. Things that I'm not, things that I would think about are pulling people in, but it's not really the core of what I wanted to do. So I would always work out what your niche is, focus and work on that. And then that way you're never going to be bored. Everybody that's coming in, it's aligning to your values. You're not having to do anything that you don't want to do. It's like you enjoy your job, you want to go to it. Professional, good quality equipment, a clean gym. That's my biggest thing, clean toilets. Well-kept, well-maintained equipment. There's too many gyms. People come from other gyms and they'll say, I left there because, the lat pull-down's been broken for 3 months, or the leg press is all creaky, it's never been lubricated or something like this, or the bar, I'm a competing power lifter, but we don't have a power bar there, yet they say they're catering to powerlifters. So if you want to get stronger, you're more than welcome. Sometimes I think the name Titan Strength, it could maybe put people off because they have some idea that everyone's going to be 6'7", as wide as you, grumpy and unhappy. Everybody's here. It's a very welcoming place because everyone is aligned to their goals. It's just like they're very welcoming. You're coming in, you're getting stronger. They want to see everybody succeed and help. We have a really good, solid community here, and I'm not just saying that. If you look at the Google reviews, it's all the way through there. So yeah, get joining up. So this is more of our conditioning side, strength side overspill. So we have this large Eleiko platform, Eleiko plate. So this is my favourite bit for weightlifting. Then we got 40 square metres of turf down here. So we have our strongman yoke and a sled. Got a couple of, this more for conditioning. We've obviously got our air runner, 2 rowers and a ski erg, 4 assault bikes down there. And then, forgive the ladder and the mats, this is a work in progress. And then, Carl's probably not interested in this, but behind there we have all these large dinosaur eggs for wall balls, kettlebells. Obviously these are all the Gen Pop ones up the top, and the 32s and 36s are gathering dust and hiding in the corner there.
That's how it goes.
We've got plenty 20 kilo and maybe 10, 15 kilogram female weightlifting bars there, which is something that not a lot of gyms have. I had gymnastic rings. Had a couple of girls over from Singapore recently training. They were like, oh, do you have female weightlifting bars? I was like, yeah, about 12, you'll be fine. We have our grip strength wall over here. Probably one of the most underused things in the gym right now, but we're hoping we get more people to pay attention to the importance of grip and just not use straps all the time. Yeah. This is one of the latest things. We've got the Saxon bar. This is from Death Grip Strength, made in the UK, all fabricated. Most of these, obviously, you'll see Death Grip, I'm obsessed. These were pretty cool ones I had someone make.
Baby.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They were all branded up for us. We've got the Scottish, the Dinny stones, the loading pins to mimic the famed stones. Some chains. I love this thing. This is the blob, the Death Grip blob.
Show us that.
This is pretty cool. In NATO green, I love that. That's like one of these things that nobody uses, but I just love having it down there. So
That's crazy.
a lot of the time, guys will just they'll use a hex dumbbell to practice this, but I just kind of thought that was pretty cool. Anything to do with starting strength.
Dun, dun, dun.
But there are people that like that, certain power lifters on their program. More gymnastic rings. That room down there, that's going to be our posing room off to the right, and a therapy room. Yeah, you just got to constantly keep people happy. So old punch bags, they're going, so there'll be no remnants of our former self before. This will all get...
Flex room.
Oh man, do that with your lights on. Look
Whoa! It's not enough muscle here, but
You got to stand at the right bit. It's been we had a bodybuilder in last week. He stood here, said it was perfect. So by the time we have all this filled, painted black, you know, we'll get a black curtain that goes right across here, so people are going to look amazing. So this will be good just for folk doing selfies, because it doesn't matter if you're a bodybuilder or just a recreational trainer, which I love. I just love having foreign visitors. They're so appreciative that they can be on holiday and have somewhere great to train, they say, you know, and I'll bend over backwards to get them in and accommodate them, you know.
Yeah,
I love that, because I know what it's like if you go abroad and you're wanting to maintain your training, or, you know, I've been before when I've had a competition close for weightlifting, and, you know, you're struggling to find a place that's got a barbell, let alone dumbbells. And one of the guys out there, I don't know if you've seen him, Laurie, he travels all over the world, so I always speak to him, because he's a big gym goer, and I'm like, what is it, you know, what are some of the problems you face when you're traveling looking for a gym, you know, the pièce de résistance.
yeah.
So this is only strong people allowed in here. So we got the big hex light to make it look like a car valeting garage or a barber shop, because they seem very popular with those. But this was one of the sickening things about opening this gym. Opened it, had all this badass kit, and the first thing, probably one of the only things people talk about, is that light.
Yeah.
You know, that is, like, for them, the best thing.
Yeah.
So people are easily pleased. You could just buy cheap Chinese kit, but just put a nice Chinese light above it. The layout, we tried to keep it sort of in sections, so when we're first coming in the door, this is meant to be your strongman area, so we have our Atlas stones, and then obviously all our sandbags, Husfell, yoke, sled, to the turf. So it was meant to be sort of like strongman to powerlift, and it's sort of like general strength. So we've got 2 power cages here. We're expanding, we're going to move this down a bit, because you noticed when you were training they were very cramped, but we're waiting for mats to come. And then the bulk of the strength kit, which is what you said is Watson's, UK based, big believer in buying and supporting British manufacturing. So this is all Watson's. There is a bit of Wolverson's kit here, which is the belt squat, which I think is a great bit of kit. But if there was a bit of kit I was going to update, I think it would be this belt squat, because I love a belt squat, but I prefer the one where the weight is coming up this way, as opposed to this is obviously like on on an angled lever. This is one of the first bits of Watson kit we got, because it was a massive space saver. And you know, we have got the big bad boy on order, the single leg extension. It's like a 100k stack for each one, but like you said, I don't know where we're going to put it. Without a doubt, Polquin said best leg press in the world, and obviously we can adjust it like that, and then we can do unilateral, which I don't believe much in unilateral stuff, but it's great if someone's carrying an injury. You know, we don't have to stop. And the leg press is a great one for putting people on that maybe aren't ready to go under the barbell if they were older. And the base plate, I think, weighs about 45 kilograms, and it's very big as well, so we have a lot of bigger athletes in here, or just sometimes even people, you want to do sumo or their mobility is not great, and then a standard leg press is no good for them, so this one's definitely fantastic. I feel a bit sickened that it's covered in like Eleiko comp spec plates round here, when it should just be like cheap techno gym ones.
Yeah, he's got all the trimmings here.
Yeah.
The bumpers and the comp plates here.
Buy cheap, buy twice. So we have our Eleiko one, which obviously caters to all the IPF lifters. And I didn't feel there was a need. I wanted 2 benches, but I didn't feel there was a need to go Eleiko times 2, so I was happy enough to do a strength shot version for the second one. This is a really good one. A lot of people think it looks a lot more sturdy than the Eleiko one, despite being about a quarter of the cost. But 3 bits of kit recently, one of them being this huge Viking press that's balancing somebody's phone and juice right now. but you're going to be going on this layer. So this is a beast, and again, if you have shoulder injuries, we can take this bar out, we can work it unilaterally again. So these are nice little things. We got this pec deck reverse fly. Yeah.
Another Watson.
Yeah, of course. That
trademark handle there.
Yeah, I mean that machine is super smooth. Everyone comments on that. It's like they seem to have taken it to their sort of machinery to the next level. Yeah. But my favorite one, excuse my floor, we have a leak, is this guy. So it's like your machine RDL. But it was a guy that told me to get it. So he travels all over the world, similar to yourself, but he's in a different occupation. But he trains in a lot of gyms. And I said, you know, what do I need? What's really lacking? And he'd seen this machine. So luckily, Watsons are now making it. So we're just here. Boom.
I've never seen this.
Well, I think it was a Scandinavian country made it first, and I was looking to try and get one, but the costs just made it unreasonable. So Watsons have now started making one, and this guy's a sports therapist, and he says he thinks it is the best machine available for lower back rehab. So we obviously have that. It's coupled with the reverse hyper, which obviously this is the machine I wanted forever, because obviously I've had lower back surgery, and I knew this would be a great addition, and it's just used by everyone in the gym. Will use this that I program for. None of them have a sore back. Everyone has a strong back. People that have come in that have a sore back and use it within 2 to 3 weeks, no sore back. I'm Marcus Houston, you've been listening to Beautiful Strength, and remember, the barbell never lies.